All right, today is one of my favorite rock and roll bands ever. This is Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. These guys are fantastic. The energy of their songs, even the studio cuts, are unbelievable. I love the sound of a full rock band. You got multiple rhythm guitars, you got lead guitars, you got saxophone, you got keyboards, you got organ, you got a full horn section. Like this is good stuff that makes you want to jump up and dance. I think that you should start with this video right here. This is one of my favorite songs. It's a great live performance. The energy is unbelievable. If you like this, you're really going to like Bruce Springsteen. If you don't like it all that much, you're just wrong, but that's okay. So let's take a look at the boss, Bruce Springsteen, through the years. Here he is on the left. That's probably 1973 or 4. This is from his 1978 album. So he was started in the early 70s and was big through the mid 80s. He did some solo stuff in between, and then got back into it in the early 2000s. We'll talk about that a little bit more. This is him from the 80s at kind of the height of his stuff with the Born in the USA album. Okay, here he is in the 2000s. And he just got done with like a series on Broadway where he was doing shows and doing some readings, I think, and telling stories and stuff. And then the other big person in his band you need to know, the big man, Clarence Clemons, who's his saxophonist. Clarence is awesome. Clarence died in 2011 as a result of complications from a stroke, and he's such an important presence in the band. They actually have his son, or excuse me, his nephew is the one who has replaced him in the band on tours now. And then Steve Van Zandt. Steve Van Zandt is their lead guitarist. He's been with them since the beginning as well. He was in a car accident during his teen years, and his head flew through a windshield, and he has massive scarring on the top of his head. So he wore a lot of hats and scarves, and now it's just the trademark that he wears these bright colored scarves. He kind of looks like a rock pirate. But that's Steve Van Zandt. The band is from New Jersey. They're proud of the fact they're from New Jersey. Tons of their songs reference New Jersey stuff. It's kind of a big part of who they are, knowing the Jersey connection. So the albums that are really important, it starts in 1973, and I've done what I normally do: links on the album cover, and then songs that I think are really good on the side. So this one was January, and then this is late 73. You've got one of his biggest albums, Born to Run, in 1975, Darkness on the Edge of Town. And then The River. I don't care for The River quite as much, but it was actually his first number one. I think it's maybe his third best-selling one. It wouldn't be my first choice, but it's got some good hits on it. You won't like this album at all, so I'm not even talking about it. And then Born in the USA is fantastic. This is when he exploded to just like massive worldwide fame. This album still has a record 7 singles from one album. I think all the songs are good. These are the singles that were released from it, but I think even the ones that aren't right here on this list are still fantastic. It's not my favorite album by any means, but there's just no bad songs on it. And he took a hiatus after this, kind of split from the E Street Band. Not anything bad like a breakup, that he just wanted to go in a different direction. And so he didn't do anything with the E Street Band for a long time. He put out a couple of solo albums. They didn't sell all that particularly well. And then during 9/11, he's stuck in traffic like while 9/11 is happening, and some dude in a car rolls down his window and leans over and says, "Hey, we need you right now." And so he gets the E Street Band back together. They cut an album, their first one in like 2 decades, and it is really, really good as well. He's continued to put out albums since this point. I think he and the band have put out maybe 6 or 7 albums since this one that are really good. I'm giving you the essential stuff. If you really like Bruce Springsteen, and I'm hoping you do, I think a lot of you are really going to like him. I think you probably haven't heard many of his songs before. There's not a ton of this stuff that's like FM radio play. He has his own XM station. I don't know if you've ever listened to it or not. If you really like Bruce Springsteen, I can direct you to some of the stuff from his 2000s albums that you might like. His live shows are kind of their own beast. It's not like the Grateful Dead where they're a live band. His studio stuff's terrific, but the shows are kind of their own experience. They're 4 hours long. These guys look like they're having more fun at any show than you've had ever in your life before at prom, Cedar Point, whatever. Um, some bands make it seem like a job. I went and saw Aerosmith. They played an hour and a half. They did their one encore song, and then they were like cleaning up the stage before I had even like found my way to the exit. These guys look like they're having the best time of their lives. They also have a pretty unique setup to their concert stuff. Like, most bands come in with a pretty set list of songs that they're going to play, and they stick to only those. What the E Street Band will do is Bruce will take requests from the audience at various points in the concert. People will write their requests for songs on giant poster boards, and you hope that he'll get your sign and take it up on stage, and then he'll do that song. The requests are usually for like people's favorite deep tracks, stuff that doesn't make the typical concert playlist, but it's, their favorite Bruce song, and they'll play those. And then at other points, he will take requests of songs that aren't even theirs. People will just say, I want to, they'll have on the sign, I want to hear this song by you. He'll pull those up. I actually included one of those. This is him taking a request for a Chuck Berry song, which I thought was cool since we've talked about him. And so you can see in the video, like, they haven't played the song maybe ever. So they're trying to figure it out on the fly, which is pretty cool to see in a concert, them do something like that. It's routine for him anymore to pull people up on stage, multiple people up on stage to sing along. And what's cool about the crowd is, I've been to tons of concerts before, and usually people are fans, like they like the music, but it always seems like people usually know, the one or two big hits from the artist, and that's about it, and that's the only thing they can sing along to. What's cool about Bruce fans is I'm a pretty big fan. I like him a lot. When I went to that Cleveland show, he pulls out one of those deep track songs that I don't know all that well. Every single person in the place is singing along with it. Like, every fan there is a super fan, and it just makes the whole experience that much better. If I were you, I would start with some of these live performances, because there's just so much energy in them, and then go back, if you like it, go back through and listen to the studio stuff. But this is one of my favorite songs, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. This is one of my favorite songs and one of his most famous. So you got from a concert performance in '75, and then this is like the official video. It's really cool because you can see they disperse different clips together. You can see the crowd. You can see, I think it captures like the fun that the band has together. Backstreets is another really, really good one. This album is really terrific. So again, you can click on the link. This is a live performance, live at the Hammersmith Odeon in London. You can hear that energy. You can find these videos on YouTube really easily too, and the quality is really good. Several of the clips I had back here are from those performances like this one. So the cool thing about Bruce is, because his live stuff's so cool, there's tons and tons of videos of it everywhere. This is another big live album of his, the biggest hits from '75 to '85, which is, this is when the performances are from, and this is going to be the meat of his work. Showed you that one. This is cool. His concert in New York City, I think. I could be wrong, but he kind of forgets the words. What's interesting about his style, it's kind of like Bob Dylan-esque. The lyrics are not, verse, chorus. Everything rhymes. It's A-B rhyming patterns. Like, it's just kind of this poetry. He tells a story. None of the words rhyme, and yet it all sounds really good. And so I'm not shocked at all that he forgets the words to his songs. They're long. None of them repeat. So he kind of forgets what's going on, and it's, again, kind of a cool thing to see how he goes through that, and the crowd helps him. This is Fallon doing a Bruce Springsteen. I think the title describes that pretty well. He's also got some Christmas songs that I know you've heard before. Now his drummer, so when he was on that hiatus, his drummer's name was Max Weinberg and had been with him from the beginning. But when he's on that hiatus, the band is looking for other opportunities to perform, and so his drummer Max Weinberg gets tapped as the band leader for Conan O'Brien's late night show, and so there was kind of this connection between Conan and Bruce. So Bruce comes on and they do a live version of Merry Christmas Baby, which is really cool. And then I'm sure you've heard on the radio his version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. So anyway, there you go. That's the boss, Bruce Springsteen. He's one of my favorite bands ever. I really hope you like him. Let me know what you think.